My parents made me raise my little brother like I was his mother. When I finally moved out, they dumped him on me for a weekend and never came back. The last thing my mother ever said to me as a parent was, "Relax, Emma. It's just for the weekend." She was standing in my tiny one-bedroom apartment doorway, fluttering her hand like I was being dramatic. My 8-year-old brother Noah was inside, already kicking his shoes off, asking if he could play on my laptop. My parents had 2 small suitcases by the door and a duffel bag for Noah. They'd promised it was just a quick trip with friends. Adult time, my dad had called it, grinning. 2 nights away. They'd be back Sunday evening to pick him up. They never came back. If you like long, messed up family stories where the child ends up being more of a parent than the actual parents, and you want to hear exactly how this turned into revenge, go ahead and like this video and subscribe to Revenge Files now so you don't miss the end of this one. Because the way my parents tried to dump their own son on me and disappear, you're not going to believe how it played out. Noah is technically my little brother, but the truth is I've been more of a mom to him than our actual mother since the day he was born. I was 12 when my mom got pregnant again. She and my dad sat me down at the kitchen table with matching excited faces. "Guess what?" my mom said, sliding an ultrasound picture across the table like it was a golden ticket. "You're going to be a big sister." I forced a smile. "That's great." Inside, I felt my stomach knot. We did not have a baby-ready life. My dad, Mark, was in and out of jobs, always between opportunities. My mom, Lisa, worked as a hairdresser and liked to say she was too free-spirited for schedules. Our house was a mess. Literal piles of laundry, dishes with old food, unpaid bills stacked, half open on the counter. I was the one who remembered to pay the electric bill online when notices came. I was the one who made sure we had cereal and milk for breakfast. I was the one who reminded my parents about parent-teacher conferences and dentist appointments. I was 12. But in that house, I was already the adult. When Noah was born, everything got worse. My mom loved the idea of a baby. She loved buying tiny clothes, posting pictures of herself pregnant, soaking in attention. The reality of a screaming newborn at 3 a.m., a toddler throwing food, a kid needing routine and structure? She checked out fast. "Em, can you grab him?" She'd call from the couch while scrolling on her phone. "Em, change him, would you? He likes you better." "Em, take him to the park. He's driving me nuts." My dad would say, "You're so good with him, Em. You're a natural. It's practice for when you're a mom one day." I was 13, pushing a stroller and holding a diaper bag bigger than my backpack. At first, I told myself it was temporary. Babies are hard, right? It'll calm down later. But as Noah grew, my help turned into a job with no pay and no clock-out time. By the time I was 15, a normal day looked like this. Wake Noah up, dress him, feed him, walk him to preschool, go to my own school, come home, fix him a snack, help him with letters and numbers, cook something for dinner because my mom forgot, do dishes, give Noah a bath, read him a story, put him to bed. My parents floated in and out of the picture like underpaid extras. If I dared to complain, my mom would roll her eyes. "You should be grateful you have a sibling," she'd say. "I had to do everything alone." My dad would add, "Family helps family. You're just pitching in. That's what good daughters do." The message was clear. Noah was my responsibility. The fact that I hadn't chosen to have a child at 12 didn't matter. The fact that they were the actual parents didn't seem to matter either. There were small, sharp moments that stick in my memory. Like the time I had the lead in a school play and Noah came down with a fever. My mom had a client she couldn't cancel. My dad was meeting a guy about a job. "I can't miss this," I said, panicked. "I'm the lead. They need me." "And Noah needs you more," my mom said. "You can do your little play next time." I stayed home, holding a cool washcloth to Noah's forehead while my classmates performed without me. Or the time my friends planned a beach day right after finals. I begged my parents to watch Noah just for a few hours. You're being selfish, my dad said. We're tired. We worked all week. If you cared about your brother, you'd want to spend time with him. So I stayed home again, watching cartoons with Noah while my friends posted pictures in swimsuits, arms around each other, captions about freedom. That's how my teenage years went. Noah first. My parents' needs second. Mine not at all. Don't get me wrong, Noah himself wasn't the problem. He was a sweet, sensitive kid. Big brown eyes, silly jokes, endless questions. He'd curl up next to me with his favorite dinosaur book and say, "You're the best, Emma." In his mind, I was just doing what big sisters do. He had no idea he was covering for what our parents didn't do. When I turned 18, I thought everything might change. I had a partial scholarship to a local college. My dream was to live on campus, even if it was just in a crappy dorm, and finally have something like a normal young adult life. My parents shut that down fast. "Dorms are a waste of money," my dad said. "You have a perfectly good room here. We can't afford to help you with anything if you're throwing money at bunk beds." "We need you," my mom added. "Noah's still little. He'd be devastated if you moved out." "He'll adapt," I said quietly. "People do." My mom's face hardened. "So you're just going to abandon your brother?" The guilt worked. It always did. I commuted. I woke up early, got Noah ready for school, dropped him off, drove to my classes, rushed home to pick him up from after-school care because my mom lost track of time again. I studied after he went to bed. I wrote essays at the kitchen table with cartoons blaring in the background. My 20s started to blur into one long babysitting shift. The only thing that kept me sane was the knowledge that someday I would graduate, get a job, save money, and leave. And I did. It took me 5 years to grind through my degree while basically co-parenting, but I made it. I found an entry-level job at a small accounting firm. It didn't pay much, but it was full-time, with benefits. After 6 months, I'd saved enough to put down a deposit on a tiny one-bedroom apartment across town. Telling my parents I was moving out might as well have been telling them I was joining a cult. My mom cried. "What about Noah?" she wailed. "He needs you." My dad shook his head. "You're going to leave us high and dry after everything we've done for you? Who do you think drove you to practices? Who put a roof over your head?" "You're his parents," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "You'll figure it out. I can still help sometimes, but I can't be his third parent anymore. I need my own life." "You're selfish," my mom snapped. "Kids these days don't care about family." Noah, who was 7 then, clung to me and sobbed. "Please don't go, Em. Please." That nearly broke me. I spent an extra hour that night sitting with him, explaining that I wasn't disappearing, that he could visit, that I'd still call. I promised him weekends and movie nights and sleepovers. I did not promise my parents free childcare. That was an important difference. For a little while, it worked. I moved into my tiny place, peeling linoleum, weird neighbors, but it was mine. My bed, my dishes, my choice about whether there were toys on the floor. Noah came over on some Saturdays. I'd pick him up, we'd make pancakes, watch movies, go to the park. At the end of the day, I'd drop him back at our parents' house and drive home in this strange new quiet. My parents, however, did not adjust. They acted like my apartment was an extension of their house. They'd call and say, "We're dropping Noah off for a few hours," like it was a given. They'd show up with him in tow and a quick, "We have errands. You're a lifesaver," before disappearing for half the day. At first, I let it slide. I missed Noah, and part of me still felt that old reflexive guilt. But then the few hours started turning into full days, then overnights with almost no warning. One Friday, my mom called at 5 p.m. "We're dropping Noah off," she said. No hello, no question. We got invited to a thing. "What kind of thing?" I asked. "Just a thing," she snapped. "Do you want to help or not?" "What about asking?" I said. "I might have plans." "Do you?" she challenged. I didn't. Not that night. I sighed. "Fine, but you can't just assume." She'd already hung up. That was the pattern for months. Every boundary I tried to set, they stepped over, then blamed me for getting upset. If at this point you're screaming at your screen that I should have gone no contact years ago, trust me, I get it. But when you grow up as the responsible one in a family like this, it takes a long time to even realize you're allowed to say no. If you've ever been parentified like that, you know exactly what I mean. And if these kinds of stories hit too close to home, hit like and subscribe to Revenge Files so you don't miss the rest, because it's about to get worse. The weekend my life change started out like any other too-much-to-do Saturday. I was cleaning my apartment, finally tackling the bathroom, when my doorbell rang. I wiped my hands on a towel and opened it to find my parents and Noah standing there with suitcases. Plural, suitcases. Not just Noah's little backpack. My mom breezed in without waiting for an invitation. "Hey, hun," she said, overly bright. "We're just going away with some friends for the weekend. Adult time. We need a break." "A weekend?" I repeated. "You didn't mention this." My dad pushed one of the suitcases inside. "Last minute," he said. "You know how it is. We booked a cabin. No kids allowed. We figured Noah would love a sleepover with you." Noah grinned up at me. "Can we order pizza?" he asked. Maybe," I said automatically, then shook my head. "Hang on, how long exactly?" "Back Sunday evening," my mom said. "We'll pick him up after dinner. You won't even notice we're gone." I looked at the big suitcase my dad had just set down. "Why do you need all that for 2 nights?" My mom laughed a little too loudly. "We overpacked. You know me." I felt that old, familiar knot in my stomach. Something was off. But Noah was right there, looking excited. I didn't want to scare him. "You could have at least asked," I said quietly to my parents, stepping closer. "I have a life. I have work on Monday. I can't just keep doing this whenever you feel like disappearing." My mom's smile vanished. "Relax, Emma. It's just for the weekend. Don't make a scene." My dad added, "We raised you for 18 years. You can handle your brother for 2 days." That line hit like a slap. The implication being, we did our time, now it's your turn. As if raising me, their actual child, was some favor I had to repay. I opened my mouth to argue, but Noah tugged my sleeve. "Please, Em. It'll be fun." My anger crumpled a little. It wasn't his fault. It was never his fault. "Fine," I said. "But you need to be here Sunday. On time. I have work on Monday. And I'm not calling out." "Of course," my mom said. "You know us. We keep our promises." No, they didn't, but I let it go. They kissed Noah goodbye, told him to be good for your sister, and left. The weekend itself was, honestly, kind of nice. I leaned into the big sister mode I'd been trained in. We built a blanket fort in the living room, watched movies, made popcorn. We went to the park, played soccer until we were both sweaty and laughing. For a little while, I pretended this was how it was supposed to be. Visits by choice, not obligation. Sunday came. I cleaned up, helped Noah pack his things, and waited. 5 o'clock. 6, 7, no call, no text. I tried my mom's phone, straight to voicemail. My dad's phone, also voicemail. I checked their location sharing on my phone. The little dots that were usually on were grayed out. Location turned off. A cold, creeping feeling crawled up my spine. At 8, Noah started getting restless. "When are Mom and Dad coming?" he asked, yawning. "They're just running late," I lied. "Want to watch another movie?" We watched another movie. Still nothing. By 10, my brain went to dark places, car accidents, hospitals. I called a couple of their friends. No one knew where they were. One said, "Oh yeah, they mentioned something about a road trip, but I didn't know the details." "A road trip?" I repeated. "For 2 days?" The friend hesitated. Honestly, it sounded longer than that. They said something about getting out of here for good, but maybe they were being dramatic. You know how they are. I ended the call and sat down hard on the couch. Emma? Noah said, small. Are they okay? I looked at his worried little face and realized something that hit me harder than anything had in my entire life. They hadn't just gone away for the weekend. They had left. Not just the house. Not just the town. They had left us. They had left him with me. I wanted to be wrong. I wanted there to be some other explanation. But when I logged into our old online banking account, which I still had access to because I'd been the one paying bills for years, it was all there in black and white. 2 days earlier, my parents had withdrawn most of the money from their joint checking. They'd closed out a tiny retirement account my dad had. There were charges from gas stations along the highway going west, a hotel, a large charge from a car rental company in another state. They were gone. My parents hadn't taken Noah with them. They had dumped him on my doorstep for the weekend with full intention of never coming back. I felt like I was going to throw up. I took Noah's hand. Hey, buddy, I said. We're going to do a sleepover tonight. You can sleep in my bed, okay? Are Mom and Dad mad at me? He asked, voice trembling. No, I said quickly. No, this isn't your fault at all. He swallowed. Then why aren't they here? Because they're cowards, I thought. Out loud, I said, I don't know yet, but I'm going to find out. After he finally fell asleep, curled up against me, I lay awake all night staring at the ceiling. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that suitcase. My mom's fake bright smile. My dad's line about, we raised you, now you can handle him. Anger came in waves, and under the anger, something harder, resolve. They had given up their parental rights in everything but paperwork long ago. This was just the first time they'd made it literal. And I had a choice. Quietly absorb this like I'd absorbed everything else. Or finally, push back. The next morning, I called in sick to work. Then I called Child Protective Services. I'd never thought I'd be that person. Turning in my own parents. But I wasn't calling because I wanted to hurt them. I was calling because there was an abandoned 8-year-old in my bed who deserved a real adult to step up. The woman on the phone was calm and professional. She asked for details. Names, ages, history. So they left your younger brother with you and haven't come back? She clarified. Yes, I said. They said, just for the weekend. They haven't answered their phones. Their location sharing is off. They emptied their accounts and there are charges from out of state. I think they've left. Left. Have they done anything like this before? She asked. Not exactly like this, I said. But they've always leaned on me as a third parent since I was 12. I can't do this alone, not legally, not financially, not without support. She sighed and I could hear typing. Okay, Emma, thank you for calling. This does meet our criteria for abandonment. We're going to open a case. A social worker will come by today to talk to you and Noah. When I hung up, I felt both sick and relieved. Whatever happened next, it wouldn't be all on my shoulders anymore. The social worker, Ms. Ramos, arrived that afternoon. She was in her 40s. Kind eyes, sensible shoes. She sat at my rickety kitchen table and talked to me first while Noah watched cartoons in the other room. You did the right thing by calling, she said. This is a lot for someone your age to handle. You're 23, right? Yes, I said. And I love my brother. I don't want him thrown into some random foster home. But my parents just left. I don't know how to be his guardian on paper. Or afford everything. I barely cover my own rent. We'll go step by step, she said. First, we need to establish that your parents have in fact abandoned him. We'll document your history of being his primary caregiver. Then we'll look at relatives who might be able to be a placement. That could be you, if you want it and meet the criteria, but we're not going to force you to take him if you can't. Noah peeked around the corner. Ms. Ramos smiled and asked if she could talk to him too. He climbed up onto a chair, clutching his stuffed dinosaur. "Do you know why I'm here?" she asked gently. He shrugged. "Because Mom and Dad are on a trip?" "Something like that," she said. "How do you feel about being here with Emma?" He glanced at me, then back at her. "She always takes care of me," he said simply. "She makes me dinner and helps with homework, and she remembers my medicine when I'm sick. She's like my real mom." I had to bite the inside of my cheek not to cry. After she left, Ms. Ramos promised to be in touch soon. In the meantime, Noah would stay with me as a kinship placement. That was the official term when a child was placed with a relative. A few days later, she called back with news. "We've tried all the numbers on file for your parents," she said. No response. The last confirmed bank and phone activity was from out of state, like you said. We've mailed certified letters to their last known address, your old house, but it looks like they've already vacated. At this point, we're documenting this as abandonment. My parents, my flesh and blood, were now officially people who had abandoned their child. "So what happens now?" I asked. "Technically, Noah is now in the custody of the state," she said. "But because he's with you and because you have a strong existing relationship, the court will likely look favorably on you being a permanent placement if that's what you want." "What does that mean?" I asked. "Like, adopting him?" "In a sense," she said. "You could become his legal guardian, or even seek to terminate their rights and adopt him in the future. That's a more involved process. For now, we'd start with temporary guardianship so you can enroll him in school, make medical decisions, that sort of thing. We can also connect you with financial assistance and support services. You wouldn't be completely on your own." I looked over at Noah, who was sitting on the floor building something out of Legos, humming to himself. He looked so small. I thought about foster homes, about strangers, about him crying for me at night, and I thought about my tiny apartment, my small paycheck, my own barely started adult life. "I want him with me," I said. "I don't want him bounced around, but I need help." "That's exactly what kinship care is for," she said. "We'll help you." Agreeing to keep Noah with me was not some shining, selfless Disney moment. It was messy and scary and full of resentment toward my parents. But I also knew that if I let the system take him without trying, I'd never forgive myself. This is where some people will say, "See, your parents were right. You ended up raising him anyway." But here's the difference. This time, they didn't get to use me without consequences. This time, they didn't get to disappear and still control the narrative. Because as Ms. Ramos started filing paperwork, she said something that made a slow, cold satisfaction bloom in my chest. "In cases like this," she said, "we can pursue child support from the parents. Even if they've left the state, their parental rights aren't gone unless they're terminated. That means they're still financially responsible for Noah. We can work with the Attorney General's office to garnish wages, intercept tax returns, that kind of thing." I blinked. "Even if they're wherever they are?" She nodded. "Abandonment doesn't erase responsibility. It actually makes the court look less kindly on them. If we can find them, we'll make sure they're legally on the hook." That was the first real glimpse of revenge I'd had. Not petty revenge, not slashing tires or posting rants online. Real, legal, inescapable consequences. My parents had thought they could drop their son off with me like unwanted luggage and drive into the sunset. Now, the state was about to send the bill for every mile. The next year of my life was the hardest and strangest I've ever lived. I went from being a 23-year-old barely keeping myself afloat to being a full-time guardian on paper and in reality. Mornings became lunches to pack, homework folders to sign, permission slips to remember. Evenings were bedtime stories, laundry, and fights over brushing teeth. I cut back my hours at work a little at first, then fought for a more flexible schedule. Ms. Ramos helped me apply for a small stipend as a kinship caregiver. It wasn't much, but it took some pressure off. I found secondhand clothes, bought groceries with coupons, learned to cook more things from scratch. There were nights I lay in bed, exhausted, and wanted to scream at the ceiling. They did this to us, I thought. They chose this for us without asking. Every once in a while, a block number would call my phone. The first time I answered, it was my mother. "Emma?" she said, her voice tinny. "Oh, thank God. How's Noah?" "Where are you?" I asked, ice in my veins. "Out west," she said vaguely. "We're figuring things out. Your father is starting a new business. We couldn't handle things back there. It was too much. You understand?" "No," I said. "I don't." She sighed. "You've always been so dramatic. Is Noah okay?" "He's fine," I said. "He's with me. CPS is involved. They documented your abandonment. They're coming after you for child support." Her breath hitched. "What?" "We left him with you. You love him. You thought you could dump him on me and vanish," I snapped. "You thought if you didn't say the words, it wouldn't count as abandonment. But it does. Legally." "We raised you," she said. "We did our time." "You raised me?" I laughed, harsh. "I raised me, and I raised Noah, and now the state agrees." She started to cry. "You don't understand. We were drowning. Your father was depressed. We couldn't. You could have asked for help that didn't involve leaving your 8-year-old with no explanation," I said. "You could have signed over guardianship properly, talked to me, involved the court, something. Instead, you lied and ran. This is on you." She tried to guilt me. "You're punishing us. You're turning our son against us." "I'm not saying anything bad about you to him," I said. "I'm telling him you're away. He'll form his own opinions when he's older. And as for punishment, you haven't even begun to see consequences yet. The Attorney General is looking for you." "What does that mean?" she whispered. "It means next time you file taxes or work under your own names or try to get anything official. This is going to show up," I said. "They're going to take money until Noah is grown. You don't get to just walk away." She sobbed. "You're cruel." "No," I said. "I'm done being your unpaid nanny. That's not cruelty. That's boundaries." I hung up. After that, most of their attempts to contact me were through relatives. My aunt called once, urging me to forgive and forget. "They were just overwhelmed," she said. "They always knew you'd be a good mom." "They had no right to decide that for me," I replied. "And they still don't. Noah and I are okay. They can talk to CPS and lawyers if they want to be involved again." I didn't slam the door on Noah's relationship with them completely, but I did put it behind legal locks they couldn't bypass. 2 years passed. Noah grew taller. He made friends at his new school. His teacher told me he was doing well, that he was kind and funny. We built our own little routines. Saturday pancakes, Sunday board games. Sometimes I'd catch him looking at other kids with their parents and his face would fall. But when he held my hand, he held it tight. CPS remained involved for a while, checking in to make sure things were stable. Then one day, Ms. Ramos came with a folder. "We're recommending that you be granted permanent guardianship," she said. "You've provided a stable, loving home. There's been no meaningful contact or support from your parents beyond a couple of sporadic calls. The judge is likely to agree." "Permanent," I repeated. The word was heavy and light at the same time. "You've been doing this unofficially for years," she said. "Now the law will catch up." At the court hearing, my parents did not show up. They had lawyers send in some half-hearted objections about parental rights, but without money or presence, it didn't matter. The judge looked at me and Noah, then at the stack of reports from CPS. "Emma," he said, "you have been, in effect, this child's parent for most of his life. The court recognizes that. I'm granting you permanent legal guardianship. Your parents will be required to pay child support, subject to enforcement across state lines." Noah squeezed my hand so hard it hurt. I didn't know if he understood all the legal jargon, but he understood the important part. I wasn't going anywhere. After court, we went to a cheap diner and ordered milkshakes to celebrate. Noah stirred his with his straw. "Does this mean I live with you forever now?" he asked. "It means," I said, "you live with me as long as you want to, and as long as it's right for you. And it means no one can just take you away without going through me." He nodded, satisfied. "Good," he said. "You're better at being a mom than Mom anyway." I laughed and cried at the same time. As for my parents, the last I heard, they resurfaced in another state under their own names, long enough to try to buy a house. The child support case pinged their credit. Their wages, my dad finally held a stable job for a while, started getting garnished. They were furious. They left me a voicemail, screaming about how I had ruined their lives, how it wasn't fair that they had to pay when Noah was with me. I didn't call back, because here's the thing. They were right about one thing and wrong about everything else. They were right that I ended up raising my brother like I was his mother. They were wrong that it meant they got to walk away free. I took on that role for Noah because he deserved a stable adult in his corner. But I refused to let my parents off the hook legally or financially. Every check that shows up from the child support office is a reminder. You don't get to disappear and erase what you owe. If you've stuck with me this far, and you've ever been the older sibling turned unpaid third parent, this part is for you. You are not crazy for being angry. You are not selfish for wanting your own life. And you are absolutely allowed to make the people who created the mess take responsibility. Even if that means bringing in outsiders, lawyers, CPS, whoever you need. And if stories like this help you feel a little less alone, make sure you hit like and subscribe to Revenge Files, so more people hear that parentification is not just helping out. It's a form of neglect, and you're allowed to push back. Noah is 10 now as I'm telling this story. We're sitting at the same table where I took that first call from CPS, working on his math homework. My life doesn't look like I imagined it would at this age. I'm not traveling the world. I'm not out at bars every weekend. I don't have the freedom a lot of my peers do, but I have a kid who runs to the door shouting my name when I get home. I have a home that's messy sometimes, but it's safe. I have a family that I chose, even if it started with something I didn't choose. My parents sometimes try to reach out through relatives, sending messages about how they miss Noah and want to rebuild. I've told them the same thing every time. Start with the court. Start with paying what you owe. Start with acknowledging what you did. So far, they haven't done any of that. Maybe someday they'll show up in person, full of apologies and excuses. Maybe they won't. Either way, the little girl who did everything to keep the lights on while they played house is gone. In her place is an adult who knows how to make a call, sign a form, stand in front of a judge, and say, "This is wrong, and I'm not carrying it alone anymore." That, in the end, is my revenge. Not screaming at them, not chasing them across states. Just turning their "for the weekend" lie into a paper trail they'll be paying for until Noah is grown, and building a real family with the kid they tried to leave behind.